Oh, thank you. Welcome this evening to our Henry County Board of Commissioners call meeting this evening. And I ask that as we kick this off that you would just please bow your heads and join me in prayer. Well, Father God, we just thank you for this evening, and we thank you for this opportunity to serve, but to also listen this evening as we prepare and begin the future for Henry County. We thank you that this is a great evening, asking that you continue to bless our citizens and all those that work here in Henry County, and just ask that you give us wisdom and guidance in all that we do. And all those that agree with me in Jesus' name, please say amen. Amen. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now hereby call this meeting to order to discuss the Henry County Cities Joint 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Is there an acceptance of the agenda this evening as printed?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussions or changes or revisions to the agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Again, this evening as we're here this evening to hold a public hearing to receive comments regarding the 2040 update of the Henry County Cities Joint Comprehensive Plan. And we're going to ask Mr. Dante Gibbs to come forward and introduce our presenters as well.
Thank you, Chair Wood and Commissioners. It is an honor for me to finally have a chance to officially announce the kickoff of our Comprehensive Plan 2040 update. This has been, for some, a long time coming, and we're excited for the opportunities that are ahead for us and how we can involve our citizens, our community, to embrace the vision in that it's Imagine Henry 2040, our vision, our future, our community. And if we all can receive that, accept it, believe in it, and embrace it as we plan Henry County and its future, I think we will lead the way and no longer have to follow other counties or jurisdictions as the model, but we will be the model. And with that said, I would like to formally introduce the presenters tonight from the Atlanta Regional Commission. We have two representatives here. We have Mr. Sidney Dowse, if he would just stand for just a quick minute just so everyone would know who he is. And we have Allison Duncan, and it will be Ms. Duncan who will be presenting tonight the PowerPoint presentation that is on the overhead. So without further ado, I'm just happy to announce this kickoff hearing and public open house, and just for everyone's information, in the foyer is an open house. We ask that you please inundate us with your input, with your feedback, with your participation. We really appreciate it and we really need it. And as we move forward in this process, please keep in mind that there will be additional announcements through the Henry Herald, through the county website, through our planning and zoning Facebook page. We're going to do our very best to make sure we try to use every avenue possible to reach our citizens so that they can be involved in what is also known as the plan of the people. So with that said, I would like to introduce to you Ms. Allison Duncan to present the Imagine Henry 2040 kickoff presentation.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dante, and good evening, Chair Wood and Commissioners. It's a pleasure for us to be here this evening, and we've also had just a really enjoyable time for the last few hours prior to this hearing. Sydney and I have had the opportunity to engage with some of your citizens and get some feedback, hear kind of what's on their mind. We've particularly enjoyed the part of the meeting where we kind of took a look at some of the issues that y'all were talking about 10 years ago. And we asked your community, like, hey, this was really what was going on 10 years ago. Is this still relevant today? And we heard a lot of good thoughts and feedback. So that gets me really excited to see where this is going to go in the next few months, because you definitely have some folks here who are ready to talk, right? Ready to share their ideas. And we're very pleased that you've asked the Atlanta Regional Commission to be a part of that as we go through this process. So tonight I'm here to just share a very few slides with you. I don't want to take too much time with this, but we're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about the process. We're going to give you a little bit of background about some of the things that may have changed since maybe some of y'all were involved in the last comprehensive plan update, and talk to you a little bit about the tools and the feedback that we will be using to craft your comprehensive plan update. So again, just very briefly, why do we plan, right? This is going to, as Dante so articulately said, this is going to be your vision, right? This is going to be the thing where the community comes together and they lay all of the ideas on the table, and they really say, you know, for the next 5 to 10 years, what do we want to really focus on? What do we really want to prioritize? What are those things that we're really getting right? I mean, because let me tell y'all, Henry County is doing a lot of things right. Okay, but then maybe what are some of those things that we wish that we could be putting a little more effort into, or that we realize that we just need to focus on a little more closely? Things are changing really quickly around us, and so this is a great opportunity to just kind of sit down as a community and see where we need to be having a deeper dive or a further conversation about some of those issues. So generally speaking, this is just a good opportunity to check in with your community, right, and see what's on their mind and see where you want to go next. And so we're really happy to be a part of that and help facilitate that dialogue. So let me tell you a little bit more about what that's going to entail. So this is just our planning process in a nutshell. A lot of what we had the opportunity to experience here tonight is a good template, right, for what you can expect over the next few months. We're going to engage not only with kind of a steering committee and a stakeholder committee of folks in your community that are really going to be driving this process, you know, but we're going to take the ideas that the public presents to us, and we're going to take that back to the steering committee that you guys have assembled, and we're going to get some really feedback so that we can target where we're going with this effort. In addition to that, we're going to do a lot of thoughtful research and analysis, not only about what's going on here in Henry County and at cities, but also kind of looking at Metro Atlanta and the state of Georgia, right? And what are some of those trends that are influencing all of these things that are coming together to influence growth, development, economic development, transportation patterns, you know, environmental quality, all of those really critical issues to the well-being of the community. So in addition to what we're hearing from the community and the research and analysis, we're going to condense all of those findings down into what we hope will be a really concise, readable document that will kind of not remind us of those old, really kind of heavy 200, page plans that kind of detailed, everything you needed to know about a community, but instead will function more as a strategic guide, right, for the next 5 to 10 years. Right? So what's your long-term vision, and what are going to be those first incremental steps to get you there? So generally speaking, it's a more condensed process than what you may remember previously, but that reflects a lot of what's changed in some of the statewide policies about how we do comprehensive planning. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Please feel free to stop me if you have any questions as I go as well. I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, so if any of you were involved in your last comprehensive plan update, you probably remember that you had to do a lot of different elements, right? A cultural resources element, a water element, natural resources, community facilities, things like that. We've changed that a little bit, and what we're showing you on this slide here are some revisions that the Georgia Department of Community Affairs has made to the planning process. So I think probably about 5 years ago, there was a study committee that looked at the way we had been writing comprehensive plans for about 20 or 30 years in Georgia, and they made some recommendations about what was really critical, for communities to focus on, and then what were some of the things that were optional. And that's what this reflects here. So every community in the state of Georgia, to maintain their qualified local government status, right, and that's kind of the key, that qualified local government status is the key for applying for many sort of state grants and funds and things like that. So every community has to do those 3 kind of bubbles at the top that are identified as required for all. So your community goals, your needs and opportunities, and your community work program. That's going to be the basis, of what we're looking at through this planning process. But because of certain tools that you've enabled in your community, we're also going to make sure that we take a really close look at your land use, your transportation needs, as well as some of your housing needs. So those are just sort of the basic required plan elements that we're going to make sure that we cover those in some detail. And then based on the feedback that we get from the community, we're going to kind of go in the direction that you tell us is your priority, whether that's economic development or green space or historic preservation. We got a really good feel tonight for some of those issues that are already on folks' mind, right? But this kind of identifies what that kind of basic framework of your plan is going to be, and then we're going to follow your lead about where we go from there. So you guys have done a great job already advertising the meetings. We got a picture of the banner that you have out front, and some of those big kind of signs that you've already been using to get the word out. But as Dante already had articulated, getting the word out is going to be key. We really rely on our local partners because you know your community better than anybody. So we're really going to be looking to you guys to kind of spread the word, and so whether that's through your own social media networks that you use to get the word out to your constituents, or whether that's through your public information officer, your local news media, social media, however you get the word out in your community, we really would love to see a great turnout and great feedback for this process. We've already been really pleased with the feedback that we got here this evening, but we really encourage you to kind of get the word out and encourage people to come and attend the public meetings. So you might be wondering, why am I showing you data from another community that's not Henry County? We get that question a lot when we use this slide, but we want to just make sure you see the way that we're going to be reflecting data back to you. Hopefully not a whole lot of black and white charts that are kind of dull to sift through, but we try to make data really graphical, colorful, and engaging. And so these are just some examples of the way that we've kind of looked at the data and analyzed, the information in the past. One of the things that we think is just foundational to all the work that we do is understanding, what are the key characteristics of your population, your income profile, your housing stats, things like that, that really are going to inform this process as we go forward. And then in kind of our first steering committee, we're going to take that information, present it to the community, and ask if you think that sounds like who you think you are, right? There's so much data out there now. There's so many different ways that we can talk about communities that really what we do is kind of take the best information we have available to us, but we present it back to you, and we ask if you think this reflects you as a community. And then we go from there, and we start the conversation from there so that we all know that we're making decisions on the best information we have available to all of us. And then we started looking a little bit tonight at some of the maps, some of the geography of the community, asking people, what's your favorite place in Henry County, right? What's that place that you want to see preserved? We're going to also ask, what are those places that you think need some work, right? And we're going to ask the community to be pretty honest with us. So when we unroll a map and we put it on a table, we really want people to sit down around it and get to work, and take a really critical look, at not only what's on the ground today, but what you want to see on the ground in the future. And so looking at that land use element, and whether that's just a traditional land use map or character areas or whatever that planning tool is that's going to suit you best, that's going to be a really critical component of this, and that's where the feedback, not only from your professional staff, but your community, is going to be really essential in kind of shaping where you go next. So we're going to take all of that information and we're going to run it through some tools, and we're going to start to give it back to you in whatever format works best for you. So this is kind of an example of some work that we've done for another community, where we kind of analyze not only the favorite place, but the places where they wanted to see change. So using this type of analysis, you can see where we got the most feedback, versus areas where the priorities weren't as critical. So based on what the community is telling us, we're going to figure out the tool that's right for relating that back to you, so that your planners have the tools that they need in the future to provide you guys the best recommendations going forward on your land use, so that you have the best information to make the decisions for your community. So a couple of things I want to make sure you're aware of. We passed out information tonight about the online survey and we hope that you guys will help us in promoting not only the online survey, but the project website that we're going to maintain for this project going forward. And so we hope that people will take this, they'll share it with their other contacts and links on social media, and that we can get a really robust response to this online survey. And then in terms of the public engagement process, we're anticipating 2 rounds of open houses. So fall 2017, going through until 2018. Our deadline for this plan update is October of 2018. So you can anticipate seeing a draft plan in spring of 2018. And as I mentioned previously, this process is being guided not only by your local staff, but by a steering committee and a stakeholder committee. Additionally, I think we're working on this plan jointly with some of the other cities in Henry County. So that's going to be a good opportunity to kind of look at how all of this information comes together, and interacts for all of the citizens, not just of unincorporated Henry County, but many of its municipalities as well. So there's going to be more detail forthcoming about when those meetings get scheduled. But as soon as we can kind of publish that information out, it would be great if you can kind of share that information as widely as possible so we can get the participation back for those meetings. So finally, I am not Jared Lombard, in case there was any confusion about that, but Jared is my manager at ARC, and he is going to be your primary project contact for your comprehensive plan update. He unfortunately could not attend tonight, but that was all the better for Sydney and I, because we had a great time here tonight interacting with your citizens, hearing what some of the concerns are. If you saw me texting, I was probably texting him because he was asking me for updates and wanted to know what was going on and wanted to know what people were saying. So he was very much present, even though he was already committed to a training in another state that he had to be at this evening and couldn't be here. But that's Jared's contact information, and he is going to be a great resource to work with as we go through this process. And that's kind of my last official slide. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or turn it over to you to get to the hearing portion of it. So.
Great. Well, this is definitely an opportunity to hear from the public, and we're appreciative of those that have already given some input. But at this time, we will open this up for public comment. And then afterwards, we'll allow the board to ask any questions or make any comments. So I do know that there's been at least 2 people that have noted that they would like to speak, and each person that does come forward will have 5 minutes. So if there's anyone out there that would like to make some comments or make questions that we can respond to later, please feel free to do so. So at this time, we will begin the public hearing, public comment segment of this meeting, and just ask for those that would like to speak to please come forward.
Good evening,
Good
Commissioners.
evening. And if you please state your name and address, I'm sorry.
My name is Lynn Lyons. My address is 50 Bennington Court in Stockbridge. I've been here 25 years, and I've watched a lot of growth take place, and it's very exciting, especially recently, a lot of growth, all the excitement coming up. I've also worked in, I've managed a business on Eagles Landing and talked with other business leaders. One of the things that I fear is that our community stands a risk of becoming a drive-through community. 40 to 50 years ago, I think Atlanta was kind of in the same boat, where at the end of the workday and on the weekends it was a ghost town, and people would go into their homes, go into the city to work, and then go to their homes. Well, one of the things that I would like very much to see is some type of implementation of green transportation biking lanes implemented, especially in some of the, I was down by the shopping area on 81 yesterday, and in all of the cars there's typically one person, and it's a very angry process to sit there. And somehow whenever we get out of our cars and we are sitting or talking or walking next to a human, things become a little bit better. And I think it would be a great way for us to marry some of the buzz that you hear about the old Henry County and the new Henry County, I think the missing factor is simply human contact and human interaction between the businesses and residents. I regularly go out to my garage, put my bike on back of my car, and I'll drive over to Rockdale County to get on their long bike path that takes me up towards Stonecrest Mall from the monastery. And that's recreational, and that's lovely. I would like to see it incorporated. I would have liked to have bicycled the 7 miles from my home to Eagles Landing where I worked daily, but I was afraid to. Last year we lost Dr. Harsh. He was a physician in Stockbridge, and he was on his bike, and it was an accident. And I won't bike down Miller's Mill, down Kellytown Road. All of those are very scenic areas in my community, but you take your life into your own hands because there is no lane. And I think with things like this, that old adage, if you build it, they will come. If you build it better, they will come quicker. So I know there is a bike lane on Eagles Landing, and it seems when you're on your bike to be about as wide as this podium. It's really, really scary to be in. I've done it. The wider green spaces designated with, with the traffic indicators, the noise indicators, is more along the lines of what I think would be an excellent addition to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to just allow them to continue, then we'll make comments. That's okay. Okay, come forward. Yes, you may.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Vera Gordon Burns. I live at 313 Galahad Court in McDonough, unincorporated. I put down 3 questions. I've been in Georgia for 16 years. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I have seen the growth in Henry County. A lot of changes, diversity, a little slower than I would like to see. But however, it is changing. My first concern was I do exit 216 because I'm off of King Mill Road. 2 things, the trucks, the traffic. I was told at one point, because I really feel bad I haven't been able to come out to the meetings, I was told at one point there was supposed to have been a lane for trucks. Now, coming from the Northeast, you guys have more land here in Georgia. To me, it's not being used. The traffic is horrible. As far as I'm concerned with Henry County, you should know that people are flocking in here, flocking from the Northeast and other places to live here. But it's like the traffic, no one's designed to alleviate some of the traffic jams. Exit 216 is a mess. You can sit there for hours trying to exit. Another thing, I did get the little thing to go do Express, but that's a joke. The Express, it's either going to run north or it's going to run south. It took me a second to realize that these are the same 2 lanes. You have land here. I don't understand, and I'm paying for this extra to use this, which it does help. That's my second question. And then the third question is King Mill Road. All of this building with the industrial parks, I didn't move here for that. And then what's going on King Mill Road? What's being built? That's, I would like to find out. My strongest point is that we had a big turnout when the Clorox plant was supposed to come here, standing room only. I want to know what's being built on King Mill Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Madam Chair,
Good evening.
Commissioners, Mildred Schmelz, 170 Dink Scott Court, Ellenwood, Georgia. Many of you know me, and some of you may not know me, but I served as chair of the Henry County Council on Aging, and I have some concerns about the aging population here in this county. Specifically, some of the concerns that I've heard have been transportation, getting back and forth to some of the senior centers and to other activities here in the county. Another concern is affordable housing, affordable quality housing. I always add quality to that, but affordable quality housing for seniors. As you know, Henry County has grown at a rate of 2.4% over 1 year. The county population has reached 229,000, and of course, a lot of that is elderly people here in this county who feel that they are not being treated fairly. When you look at some of the senior centers that are being built, there are no swimming pools. Most of them want swimming pools, and there aren't any swimming pools at any of the 4 centers that we have here in Henry County. And we have 4 centers that are strategically located in the county, which is great. The last one being in Hampton, which is an absolutely gorgeous center, but no swimming pool. So that's one of the things that we want here in this county for senior centers, us as senior citizens, is a swimming pool. Transportation, and of course, affordable and quality housing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? You may come forward.
Good evening. My
Good
apologies. I didn't know you had to sign up beforehand, but I was here.
You don't
My name is Robin Dyke. I live at 1709 Hingham Circle in Locust Grove. And in Heron Bay, it's a great community. We have these trails that will jump from one little section of our community to the other and to the other. And I loved that when we moved here from Cleveland, Ohio. Next year will be our decade here. But what I really liked about it is how you could jump from one little section to the other. The kids could walk through these nature trails to their friend's little portion of Heron Bay without having to go on the major streets. And as a mom of 3 kids, like that was important to me. But once you're in Heron Bay, you're stuck in Heron Bay. There aren't sidewalks. The kids, you see them dangerously walking up the street just to go to the little gas station or to the Dollar General store, which is our one little out there. But there's no sidewalks. It's such a rarity to find sidewalks in Heron Bay. I loved what she said about the bike lanes and being able to go through different things. I loved what she said about affordable quality housing. I was just talking outside, there needs to be, the question confused me about limited, smaller household things. I think there needs to be more options of actual homes that people can invest in our community in, but it needs to be a quality home. But not everything has to be Richie Rich, and not everything has to be bare minimums, but nice options for people to want to move their families here and stay here and grow with our community. Speaking of growth, I don't understand, there's a lot of things that I don't get in this community, like the whole, who it was a big surprise to so many of us when we figured out that the Peach Pass was only one way. I was like, man, I was so excited. Everybody was like, woohoo! And then you found out, just kidding, because if you work second shift, honey, you're never taking it. You're never taking it. It's always going the other way. And people are like, hey, so I'm going to come see you Saturday. Oh, no, that means I have to get on 75 to come. No. Anyway, off track. Point is, there's a lot of investing that goes on, but I don't see the thinking beforehand. And I know a few of you on this board, and I think you're very smart, intelligent people. So this is not a dig on your intelligence. This is me going, can someone explain to me the planning process beforehand? Because it doesn't seem like there was a plan. When Bill Gardner was repaved, man, our whole community and everyone around there, Mallard's Landing, Summer Lakes, everybody was just all out of whack because y'all had to repave this road. Y'all repaved the exact road. The whole thing was there's been accident after accident for people falling off into the ditches because right past the, what is that, the fog line, you got about a half an inch to a quarter inch of cement and then boom, ditch. Everybody just falls off because they're not paying attention or there's, somebody with a big truck. These big trucks will want to come through here, and I'm not on the big trucks yet because that's on 155, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But these big trucks come through Bill Gardner, and they're not paying attention, so you got to scoot over a little bit. Next thing you know, you're in the ditch. It's just, who approved repaving this entire road the exact same way? I mean, it wasn't really bad in the first place. That's like building a new stadium when your old stadium works fine. I don't get it. Anyway, Highway 155 is the biggest mess I've ever seen. I mean, I used to go, gosh, it's so hard to go at 155 after school lets out because it takes you a good 20 minutes to get from West Ridge Parkway to the interstate. Now you're looking at 45. 45 minutes to go, what, a gazillionth of a mile? It is turned into Marietta in the north side. In Lenox, where everybody they want to go, but they don't want to go because it's a nightmare to get in and out and takes you an hour to get in and out of the parking lot. That's what it's like to try to go past that Chick-fil-A on 20 in that shopping center. You want to stab your eyes out. When you want to go to, and then somebody said that they thought that was a Chick-fil-A going in across from Tanger. That's going to make life cringeworthy. It's already a mess. So, I mean, I know that planning and traffic and all of these things, but can all of these big smart heads get together before y'all start rebuilding streets and all these other things and make sure that, I don't know, there's got to be a checks and balance. And then with these schools, it's kind of like the highways and the roads and the repavings. Y'all plan for, okay, we're growing at, X percent per year, so we need to plan for next year. You rebuild a school knowing good and well in 5 years you're going to be out of that size. I mean, I grew up in towns where the schools were big and there were classrooms that weren't used, but we didn't have to rebuild another school and put our kids in trailers all the time outside. With that hurricane that just went through and everybody's tying down their lawn equipment and their patio stuff, those trailers, I don't know if there was any damage to it, but if the winds were any worse, there would have been. And everybody wants to cancel schools so the kids aren't on these buses and wind knocking them off the road. Yay, awesome. I mean, I wasn't mad at the
Thank you.
thing doing it, but please plan better. Thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Good evening. My name is Michael Williams. I'm at 1105 Wilmington Way, McDonough, Georgia, Winslow Eagles Landing subdivision. Me and my wife and my daughter, who's in 12th grade, have been here for 10 years. I really like Henry County, I should say that. And I have seen growth, and I expect to see even more growth coming. One of the things that I'm concerned about, and I don't know much about, I don't go to many meetings like I should, and I plan to start attending more, but we have the Jodico South Atlanta project, or that's been talked about and talked about it. I hear that there's been a battle between Henry County and Stockbridge on who has the land, who should take over the land, and I assume Henry County won that battle. I don't know. But what I am concerned about is what are we doing with it? I've seen the land cleared off. Weekend after weekend almost, I'm having to take my daughter or letting her take my car to go to Lenox Mall or go to Atlanta, downtown somewhere, when we have perfect opportunity to have all kinds of high quality restaurants, stores, businesses. We've got plenty of land here. I think it's important that it's developed and it's developed correctly. We just don't want anything or anybody coming in here, but we've got the opportunities here. I'm also concerned about what are we doing to attract major businesses like Amazon or other major companies that would come. What do we have to offer them that would be an attraction for them to want to come into our county instead of Cobb or one of the other major counties as well? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sylvia Ricketts, and I live in Clearwater Point Subdivision, 193 Babbling Brook Drive, McDonough. I was happy to be here last night at the commissioners' meeting, and I was very impressed with Commissioner Clemens when she decided that in order for a certain resolution to be passed, that there were certain specifications. And I think this is what we expect from our commissioners, from each and every one. I've been living in McDonough for 12 years. And I came to the United States from the Caribbean. When I came here, I came from Kingston, Jamaica. And when I came here, one of the things that everyone says, sidewalks, sidewalks, I echo that. And I don't know why, but Kingston was one of the very, very, very old cities. And we had sidewalks back then. And when I came to the States, I'm like, they don't have sidewalks? And maybe because we walk a lot, and they just naturally develop the cities with sidewalks. But we do need to have sidewalks. And I echo every comment of every person who commented before. In my subdivision, there are sidewalks. And when I went there, I was very happy with it. And when I said, oh, we have sidewalks, and it was mandatory, the development, it was mandatory that we had sidewalks there. So that's just my comments. Our kids need it, and someone like myself, I like to walk, and I will leave my house and just walk, walk, walk. So let's have them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good evening.
Thank you for hosting this and allowing us to speak. My name is Deb Salter, and I am a teacher here. I teach at Ola High School, and I live at 114 Bricks Drive in Locust Grove. And one of the things that comes up a lot when I'm talking to the kids in our community is that there's, quote unquote, nothing to do. And I am also part of the Henry Players. And what I have noticed in our community is that we have a lot of really good local organizations that are art and cultural, artistic and cultural, and that are working kind of independently to provide that type of thing for our community to do and participate in. But I've been recently to several different communities where it is clear that the government is supporting the arts in their community with either funding or building space or something along those lines, and that it's a collaborative effort on the part of some of these communities to make sure that there's a place for our community members to express themselves and to participate as a group with those in the community in that type of forum, to either participate or to go and be an audience member and to really enjoy those type, art, music, drama, all of those type of things that we could do. It would give, if we could collaborate a little bit more and perhaps get support for the arts, I think it would really make this place an amazing place to be. I do love this county. I love living here. I've been here about 12 years, and I love the kids here. I would love to give them something really positive to do in our town. So thank you. That wasn't as articulate as I wanted it to be, but hopefully I got my point across.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I tried to resist, but I just couldn't. Had you cut it off, it would have been better. My name is Vivian Thomas, and I live at 107 Bayberry Hills in McDonough, Georgia. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And I must say, I really did enjoy the commission's meeting last night. It was very informative. And I want to thank Commissioner D. Clemens for making sure that her district got quality homes and demanding that other square feet in those homes. That was great. And also introducing a resolution to include small businesses here in Henry County so that we can turn dollars and monies and jobs here in Henry County. So thank you so much for doing that. And one thing I would like to see come to our county, and hopefully this is something that can be put into your plans, is to find some way to attract other colleges to Henry County. It's time for us to look beyond just high school and vocational schools, and I am appreciative of Mercer University being here. That's great. But think about some of the college towns and how that revenue really does help those towns grow, draw in other corporations, draw in new millennials that stay and help build that town and build those other small cities. Look at Athens and look at even Gordon College. It's a beautiful college campus. And I know Gordon does not have, Barnesville does not have what Henry County has, but they have a beautiful college over there and doing exceptionally well. And we need to think about how we can start drawing those other dollars to Henry County so that our children will have another opportunity to stay here and to grow here and to live here and to enjoy being here. And that will bring other, like I said, other companies here, other investors here, because we're looking beyond just 1 or 2 levels of education here for our students. So in your planning and your smart growth planning, I certainly hope you'll look at opportunities to say, what can we do to draw other institutions here, other college institutions here for our communities? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anaya Funny. I live at 6210 Mountain Lake Avenue, McDonough, Georgia. I'm just here because I heard someone say earlier about how she works at OLA, and she has a lot of students say that there's nothing to do here. And I'm in high school, and I like to go out on the weekends with friends and hang out and everything. And what I'm really noticing is that after a while, after you've done everything here, it gets boring. Like, you have the Sky Zone, you have the movie theater, and yeah, that's fun occasionally, but you don't want to have to go there over and over again. And like, for me right now, I would prefer to go to Atlanta where there's all the malls and all the places you can visit and stuff. So one, I would really like to see that kind of come to Henry, because I feel like Henry could be the new poppin' spot like they have downtown Atlanta. Like, this could be like the new spot, the place to hang out and everything. And two, with the sidewalks, I live in Lake Haven, and so Lake Haven's a really big neighborhood and everything, and I have a lot of friends that also live in my neighborhood. So when I'm walking to houses and stuff, I really don't like walking in the road because it's not really safe for me, because I won't see who's coming behind me, and I don't want to constantly have to check on if I'm going to get ran over or anything. So I would really like to see that sidewalks are kind of like inputted into the plan, I guess everyone is saying. But thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
My name's Don Dunlap. I'm at 192 Ashley Drive in McDonough. Thanks for having the meeting. What I'd really like for us, most of us were at the intergovernmental retreat. There's a lot of good discussion that came out of that, a lot about multi-purpose paths, bike trails, a lot of the livable communities kind of discussions that we've heard about this evening. One of the things I'm hoping that we'll do as part of this planning process is realize that Henry County, when we talk about comprehensive plan, we want a plan that comprehends all of Henry County. One of the folks that was just talking was discussing Amazon and wanting to have a corporate headquarters like that come here. And one of the things on their wish list was transit. And frankly, we don't have transit in this community. And in lots of places, we don't need it. But North Henry, it really does seem to lend itself toward having some kind of heavy rail or some kind of transit presence there. We might want to look at some way to connect the county with some kind of bus service, a real transit service, a little bit beyond what Henry Transit provides. But really where I'm going is that each part of our community is unique and different, and we should embrace that diversity so that the folks that have horses and cows in Ola enjoy living in their backyard the same way the folks that have an urban community in North Henry can enjoy that as well. We can have high density development in areas that need it and it makes sense, and we can have a rural agrarian population in areas of Henry County that makes sense. We can develop those areas along 75 where it does make sense to have warehousing and logistics and supply chain, and we can still have those professional developments in the urban areas that it makes sense to do that. We have a great airport. Let's utilize that. But let's be comprehensive in the way that we do this plan and make sure that all 5 of our districts are being really considered for what they bring to the whole table in Henry County, so that we have really, we talk about wanting unity in our community, and it really is the fundamental essence of that word. If you dissect community, unity is right there in it, and I hope that we'll embrace that concept as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Okay, here is our final call. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, well, this concludes our public comment section at this time, and I'm going to invite our staff and community. There were a couple of questions that came up, and then of course we will allow the board to make comments as well. So if there are questions that staff wants to address, answers that staff wants to address regarding the questions, and then we'll open it up to the board.
Thank you, Chair Wood. At this time, it would be a little bit premature to try to address all of these questions. What we ask is that they give us this information and their feedback and their involvement and in their participation so that we can analyze it appropriately through ARC, so that we can generate the data, generate the graphical illustrations of what the desires are of our community. Did I see a hand?
Okay, so that's your response to the questions. Okay, and then, so now let's open it up to the board. Yes, Commissioner Prince.
Dante, would you please take the public through what what a comp plan is and what the purpose of this meeting is today?
Sure. The Georgia Department of Community Affairs they have guidelines as to how communities are planned. With respect to how we plan for our future, it is called a comprehensive plan. In some other terms, is also known as the plan of the people. These plans are very involved. They involve a lot of meetings, a lot of data, a lot of analysis, a lot of discussion, a lot of observing how counties and cities have trended as far as the development has over the years. And with this data, with the trends, with the information, with the feedback, with all of the involvement of this process, it does take a year or two. This process, the discussion of this kickoff meeting started toward the beginning of this year and latter part of last year. So it's almost a 2-year process from start to finish. So once we get all of this information from the community and those who are involved, the steering committee, stakeholders, the citizens, staff, the project management team, ARC, and all those who are involved, then we are able to galvanize a plan that illustrates and shows what the feedback is. And it will do so accurately. Instead of trying to address maybe questions right now, let's just wait to gather more information. And then what we'll end up with as far as the product is concerned is a future land use map and a comprehensive plan. The future land use map is our guide. It is how we plan for our future here in Henry County. It's how we designate the densities throughout the county as they relate to whether it be I-75 or the outskirts of Henry County, and then that serves as the basis for our objective recommendations for situations like rezonings, those zoning matters that eventually come to the Board of Commissioners for decision for certain uses that will be placed or are proposed on those sites. So the comprehensive plan is our policy guide that allows us to plan our county strategically in an effort to be balanced, and that is balanced with density, balanced with our natural resources, balanced with the types of provisions we have and choices we have for the different generations that live here. I hope that answers your question, Commissioner.
So in a synopsis, you would say then that the comprehensive plan is where our citizens want to see growth, what kind of growth, and in the area that they want to see the growth. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes. To sum it up, yes.
Okay. Because I just wanted to clarify, we're not here discussing what's going to go there. We're just talking about what area we're going to see commercial growth, what area we're going to see residential growth, how dense we want the commercial growth to be, how dense we want the residential growth to be, things of this nature. Is that
yes, along those lines, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dante.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other comments from the board or questions? Yes.
And I think that Commissioner Prince was saying that because a lot of the concerns that you guys brought up today are very relevant. They're relevant today, and they can't wait 2 years to get done. And so the comprehensive plan may not fix those things that you talked about today, but as commissioners, there are things that we can do immediately to start working on some of those things. And what I urge you to do is to come to the board meetings, know who your commissioner is, because I think a lot of you, some of you I've seen before, some of you I've never seen before. Maybe you don't know who your commissioner is, but you need to have a direct communication and line of communication with your commissioner. I heard a lot about transit and sidewalks. Well, a couple of months ago, we voted on having a T-SPLOS, and if you don't know what that is, that's the money that we get to do these things. If you guys don't voice that concern to your commissioners and say, hey, we want a T-SPLOS, then you don't get it. So I suggest that those things that you're talking about, know where that funding comes from, know how we need to get that funding so that we can move forward. So I would say educate yourselves, and if you don't know what's happening, contact your commissioner so that you can know.
Thank you. Other Commissioner Prince, and then we'll continue on this way.
Did want to bring up, we had talked a lot about sidewalks today. Did want to bring up, I work closely with staff to pass an overlay. Now every piece of property that is developed along our major corridors, that's 155, 130, 138, 42, North Henry Parkway, pretty much every major road, so that would be East Lake Parkway, East Lake Connector, anything around Eagles Landing. When the businesses develop along those corridors, they have to put in, I believe it's a 10-foot multi-use path. So we've already implemented that. It's just as businesses develop throughout down those corridors, they will be putting in 10-foot paths already. So we're working on these things. We have heard you before, and we've heard some of these concerns before. So we are working on this and moving in that direction. I just wanted the citizens to know.
All right, thank you. Comments? Commissioner Barnum.
Dante, speaking of the sidewalks, isn't it a requirement for all our subdivisions to have sidewalks now?
Yes, it's one of our standard development regulations in the UODC. In Chapter 4, if I recall correctly, that there are sidewalk requirements for subdivisions now.
So when was that put in place? What year? You know?
The current UODC was adopted in 2009. I don't remember the month, but it's been in place since then.
2009. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Other questions? Commissioner Wilson? Okay, I've got a point. Go ahead.
And I would just like to say, I think that you guys are saying sidewalks and subdivisions are good, but when you come outside the subdivisions, you want to have sidewalks. The places that are already built that don't have sidewalks, not the new places that are coming up, but the places that are already there, we need sidewalks. That is T-SPLOS. That is more money that we need to get in order to do those things.
Okay. My comments really is that, first of all, I want to just say thank you to those that came out and spoke this evening. This is definitely an opportunity for you to give your input. I encourage you to please invite others to participate. The online survey, as was introduced earlier, is also available. This is going to be the most important tool that Henry County will experience for a while. And it is going to shape the future of not just for your lives, but even that for your children and grandchildren. And it is true that I'm glad to hear that I'm hearing people saying, how do we think ahead? How do we prepare for the growth that is going to occur? Because by 2040, there is projected to be a 60% increase in our population. And we're right now trying to come out of the lack of planning that, in my opinion, has caused us to experience some of the traffic congestions that we have. So do know once also that there is a comprehensive transportation improvement program that the county just recently approved last year. And it identifies a lot of the issues that you spoke about this evening, but at the same time, as has been already referenced, we have a significant funding gap for transportation. And so we've got to figure out, again, thanking the staff for the priorities that have been set, but we've got to move forward on how do we identify the priorities and, again, identify the funding. The good thing is, in this comprehensive land use plan, we've got to overlay the future growth with the transportation objectives. So this is an opportunity, again, that we will have an opportunity to plan for those that don't want growth, and at the same time, we've got to plan for the growth that will occur. We've got to understand that growth is happening here in Henry County, and it will continue to happen here in Henry County. So how do we align the property owners with the desires of the community? This is that opportunity. And yes, we've got to start thinking about how do we proactively think about some of the quality of life opportunities that we have. So again, I want to commend those that were here this evening. It was noted earlier, this is the kickoff. And so we did, I saw many people coming in prior to this meeting this evening. But again, please encourage everyone to get involved, to have a voice. And I agree with Commissioner Clemens. We do need to encourage you to be part of the process now as well, because policies are being decided. And we are trying to also make sure that we get quality growth, okay? Quality growth, because we're all here and we do want this to continue to be a great place to live, work, and play. So those are my comments. I hope that you will continue to participate because, again, some of these meetings will be held in some of your communities. If you live in Stockbridge, Locust Grove, Hampton, and McDonough, there's going to be opportunities there. So please continue the engagement and encourage others to participate as well. But again, we commend you for being here. That speaks of your investment, and thank you again. So any other comments from?
Chair, if I could just take a quick minute to thank Sydney Dowse and Allison Duncan for presenting tonight and for participating and coming here and leading the way and helping us with this kickoff hearing. We really appreciate you and thank you. We look forward to working with you. Thank you to everyone who participated thus far and those who are tuning in. We need your input. That's the best thing I can say is be involved, get involved, keep your eyes and ears open, participate, give us your feedback, and the more the merrier, and that way we can plan and have a strategic and accurate future land use plan that can serve as an innovative plan of the people. Thank you all to the commissioners and chair for your support. Thank you to the county manager and deputy county manager for your support. I really appreciate it, and we look forward to what's to come.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the board before we motion to adjourn? Okay. Well, considering that, we again thank you for this evening, and we're now opening the floor for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Have a good night, everyone, and thank you again.